Well, January flew by for me. With client appointments and contracts picking back up, we are even seeing some multiple offer situations. For me, January was also filled with local board meetings, a visit to the state capitol, and local and state economic forums providing both reflections and predictions. The general consensus is that the residential real estate market isn't as bad as the news media might be making it out to be. Inventory is still low. There are 934 new listings. This is a 21% decrease from January 2023. This is keeping pricing steady instead of declining. For example, the median sales price was $450,000 in January, a slight 1% decrease from January of 2023. We still expect improved interest rates in the coming months as well. We saw a lot of fluctuation in the interest rate throughout January, but the average interest rate ended up being 6.63%. This was up 50 basis points from January of 2023, or about 8%. Although building permits pulled in 2023 were lower than in the 2 years prior, when we look around Colorado Springs, particularly east and northeast, it definitely feels like the builders haven't slowed down. We still have what is considered a housing shortage. There were 181 new residential permits pulled in January of 2024 versus the 154 that were pulled in January of 2023. That's a 17% increase. 3 of the biggest builders accounted for about 40% of those permits. The builders are building in the Mark Scheffel corridor, like Banning Lewis Ranch, Sterling Ranch north of Woodman, Lorson Ranch in the southeast part of town, and Wolf Ranch. Speaking of permits and builders, we mentioned in January the increasing popularity of the modern row house concept. Here are just a few of the builders and areas that we have observed this cool concept. Oakwood Homes in Banning Lewis Ranch, both the Coach House and the American Dream collections. Challenger Homes, Classic Homes, and Aspen View Homes in several communities in eastern Colorado Springs. And local homes, as we mentioned last month in Victory Ridge, as well as on the west side off Centennial. If you're interested in seeing any of these, give us a shout. We'd love to explore which ones might work for you. For our community feature this month, let's talk about the infrastructure surrounding some of these newer residential communities. For example, Banning Lewis Ranch Parkway is on the current far east edge of the Banning Lewis Ranch community, but will probably be the eventual middle of the expansive community. The parkway is currently being constructed to cross Woodman Road, just a few hundred yards east of Mark Scheffel. It's amazing to think that Banning Lewis Ranch Parkway will eventually connect with Briargate Parkway along the south edge of Black Forest, and not far from the also rapidly growing Sterling Ranch and Timber Ridge communities. We are just amazed at this. In addition, Mark Scheffel crossed Woodman Road a few years ago, and at its current end, we can see Sterling Ranch, so its extension is inevitable. The 2-lane portions from Woodman to the south are already expanding, with major widening slated to begin in 2025. As we see the Banning Lewis Ranch community sprawling east of town, it's worth noting that the original ranch goes far south and east, beyond the Colorado Springs Airport and Peterson Air Force Base. That will unlikely all be residential real estate, at least not in our lifetimes, but maybe it's pretty interesting. Some are already planning their spring and summer travels to Colorado. We all know this starts in ski season and barely slows down as we move right into the busy summer months. We thought this was interesting. Although the iconic Garden of the Gods Park, located at the base of Pikes Peak, is free to visitors, it brings an estimated 4.5 million visitors to the area each year, provides 4,055 jobs, and generates $272 million to our local economy every year. Wow. That ranks 6th in the state of the $7 billion generated by Colorado's Parks and Recreation. Drawing all those visitors is no surprise to those of us who love living here and enjoy the great outdoors year-round. Speaking of living here, we often hear complaints about affordability. And while we're always interested in more affordable housing when compared to other parts of the state, we are actually a bargain. For example, the median home price in Aspen is $6.7 million. The average was $10.4 million. When you compare this to our $450,000 median sales price, we seem like a deal. Thanks again for watching. Happy Valentine's Day. When we roll our next video, it'll almost be spring break. Talk to you soon.